Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist. Tonight, we drift into a season that feels like a warm exhale after the bright intensity of summer, a season where the world softens into deep golds, quiet ambers, and gentle rustling sounds that echo through forests and small towns alike. Autumn is the time when the earth begins to settle, when the air cools just enough to slow everything down, and when the light shifts into warm, slanted rays that turn even the simplest landscape into something quietly magical. Before we begin this journey, take a moment to ease yourself into comfort. Let your shoulders fall. Let your breath deepen naturally. And allow whatever thoughts were still clinging to your day to drift softly to the edges of your mind, the same way leaves detach from branches and float effortlessly to the ground. Autumn moves differently from other seasons. It does not rush in or announce itself loudly. It arrives gently, one cool morning at a time, one softened breeze at a time, one slowly changing leaf at a time. You might not notice the exact moment summer becomes fall, until suddenly the world feels more peaceful, more reflective, as if nature itself has decided to soften its voice and speak only in slow, quiet rhythms. Trees begin to glow with shades of copper and burnt gold. Pathways become scattered with drifting leaves, and the sky transforms into a canvas of muted tones that blend into one another, like watercolors. Even the wind feels different, carrying the subtle scent of earth and wood and distant rain, a scent that seems to awaken memories you did not realize were resting beneath your thoughts. There is something deeply comforting about the way autumn light touches the world. It stretches long across fields, filters gently through branches, and settles in warm, steady layers across landscapes that feel older, calmer, and more grounded than they did just weeks before. Shadows soften, sounds become rounder and quieter, and every natural movement from the falling of a leaf to the drifting of a cloud adopts a slower, more thoughtful pace. Standing in this softened world, you might feel as though time has learned to breathe with you, matching your inhales and exhales, guiding you into a serenity that exists effortlessly within the rhythm of the season. So, if you'd like, close your eyes now. Relax your mind. Let the glow of autumn settle around you, the way warm light settles on a quiet forest floor. This is the most relaxing facts about autumn to fall asleep, a gentle journey through a season made of color, calmness, and the quiet settling of the world into peace. Let's begin. As autumn arrives, the sunlight begins to soften into a deeper, warmer tone, creating long golden rays that stretch across the world in a way that feels almost like a gentle hand resting on everything it touches. This happens because the sun sits lower in the sky during the fall months, forcing its light to travel through more of the atmosphere before it reaches us. In that longer journey, the cooler blue wavelengths scatter away, leaving behind the warm amber tones that make fields glow, forests shimmer, and even quiet streets look touched by something tender. This shift in light doesn't just change the way the world looks. It changes the way we feel, reminding the body to slow down and inviting the mind into a calmer state where thoughts drift like falling leaves. The air of autumn carries a crispness that feels both awakening and deeply soothing. As temperatures cool, the moisture in the air decreases, making each breath feel cleaner, clearer, and subtly sharper in a comforting way. This crisp quality also heightens the scent of earth, wood, and distant rain, creating an atmosphere that feels grounding and familiar. Scientists have discovered that autumn air holds tiny compounds released by soil and fallen leaves, natural aromas that evoke calm and nostalgia in the human mind. This mix of coolness and scent creates a sensory quietness, a gentle clarity that encourages deep breathing and slows the pace of both thought and emotion. Leaves change color in autumn, not because they die suddenly, but because trees begin a slow, intentional process of conserving energy. As days grow shorter and sunlight becomes less intense, trees gently withdraw chlorophyll, the pigment responsible for green, pulling it back into their trunks and roots for safekeeping. When the green fades, hidden pigments emerge. Soft yellows from xanthophylls, warm oranges from carotenoids, and vibrant reds formed by anthocyanins. These colors were always present, tucked quietly inside each leaf, waiting for autumn's arrival to reveal them. It's a reminder that beauty often exists beneath the surface long before we notice it, emerging only when the world slows enough to let it be seen. The soundscape of autumn becomes quieter and more rhythmic, shaped by falling leaves and the soft rustle of wind moving through thinning branches. Leaves drifting across sidewalks or forest floors create a gentle, whispering pattern that seems to move in harmony with the season's slower pace. Animals that filled summer with constant motion now respond to cooling temperatures by moving more deliberately, their footsteps softer, their calls less frequent. Even the insects that buzzed constantly in warmer months grow quiet. This shifting soundscape creates an auditory calm, an atmosphere where the mind feels naturally invited to unwind and settle. Fog becomes more common in autumn mornings because cooling nighttime temperatures cause moisture in the air to condense into tiny droplets suspended close to the ground. When you walk through this soft mist, the world feels dreamlike. Shapes fade into silhouettes, and familiar places appear distant and peaceful. This gentle veil of fog muffles sound, blurs edges, and turns motion into slow, floating gestures. The mind, seeing fewer sharp details, relaxes its constant need to interpret, allowing thought to drift freely. It's a natural form of sensory softness, a quiet transformation of the world into something calm, muted, and safe. Autumn winds develop a distinct character, often described as calm, but purposeful. They move through forests and fields with a soft persistence, carrying with them the scent of fallen leaves, cool soil, and approaching rain. These winds feel different from summer breezes. They are thicker, steadier, and infused with the changing temperature of the season. As they pass through trees, they coax leaves into gentle spirals, lifting them into the air before letting them drift downward again. Watching or hearing this movement creates a sense of peaceful inevitability, a reminder that letting go can be beautiful, slow, and natural. Autumn sunsets become richer and more dramatic because cooler, cleaner air contains fewer water droplets and particles than humid summer skies. This clarity allows sunlight to scatter across the atmosphere in deeper reds, warmer oranges, and soft purples that stretch across the horizon in layers. These colors reflect off clouds, forests, and lakes, creating scenes that feel painted by nature itself. The slower cooling of the evening gives the sky more time to shift gradually, making sunsets appear longer and more immersive. Observing this warm, lingering light has a calming effect on the mind, gently signaling the body that the day is ending and rest is approaching. The ground beneath trees becomes a natural blanket of leaves that insulates the earth, keeping it warm as temperatures begin to drop. Each leaf carries tiny pockets of air that trap heat, creating a protective layer above soil and root systems. This blanket also muffles footsteps, turning walks through forests into quiet, cushioned journeys where the sound of each step feels softened and serene. The gentle crunch of dry leaves, combined with this muted ground, creates a sensory environment that calms the mind, making movement feel more meditative than purposeful. Autumn rain has a different sound than summer rain. It tends to fall more softly, with cooler droplets that create a gentler rhythm against rooftops, trees, and windows. The air is cooler, the wind slower, and the world quieter, allowing the sound of rain to spread in a soothing, even pattern. This soft rainfall mixes with the scent of damp leaves and soil, creating a sensory combination known to reduce stress and increase relaxation. Listening to autumn rain feels like listening to the earth breathe, steady, quiet, and deeply comforting. As nights grow longer in autumn, the world settles into extended periods of darkness that gently encourage the body's natural rhythms to shift. Longer nights stimulate the production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for making you feel sleepy, allowing rest to come more easily. The earlier sunset also creates a longer transition between day and night, giving the mind time to unwind as light dims slowly across the horizon. This gradual darkening feels like nature's way of guiding the body toward stillness, preparing you for deeper, more restorative sleep. As autumn deepens, the earth begins to release a scent that many people describe as warm, nostalgic, and grounding. This scent is created by a natural compound called geosmin, released by soil-dwelling microbes as the ground cools and moisture returns. Fallen leaves also release soft, woody aromas as they begin to break down, mixing with the crisp air to create the unmistakable fragrance of the season. This blend of earth, leaf, and moisture is scientifically proven to trigger relaxation in the brain because scent pathways connect directly to emotional memory. That is why one quiet inhale of autumn air can bring back feelings of warmth, comfort, and childhood. Without a single word or thought, the season itself does the remembering for you. When leaves fall from trees, the process is calmer and more intricate than it appears. Trees form a thin layer of cells called the abscission zone at the base of each leaf stem. This layer slowly weakens the leaf's connection until a gentle breeze is all it takes to let it drift away. This quiet separation allows the tree to conserve resources, protecting itself for winter's arrival. The leaf's journey downward is rarely chaotic. It spins slowly, catches air like a delicate wing, and rests gently on the ground. When thousands of these tiny motions fill forests and fields, the world feels as though it is moving in a shared, peaceful rhythm, a soft rain made of color and silence. Autumn light interacts differently with landscapes because the sun's angle is lower and more diffuse. Instead of shining directly overhead, sunlight sweeps across the world from a softer direction, creating longer shadows and a warmer glow. This side lighting reveals textures that go unnoticed in bright summer light: the rough bark of trees, the curve of hillsides, the layers in stone paths, and the delicate veins in leaves. Because the light is less intense, the eyes relax, focusing more gently and taking in details without strain. This visual softness naturally soothes the mind, inviting it to slow down and absorb the world one warm, quiet moment at a time. Autumn streams and rivers seem to flow more slowly. Not always because the water changes speed, but because the world around them becomes quieter and more reflective. Fallen leaves drift across the surface, moving at the pace of the current, creating tiny, swirling patterns that hypnotize the eye. The banks grow still as grasses fade and insects become less active. Even the sound of water feels calmer, deeper, and more resonant in the cooler air. When you watch an autumn stream, the combination of gentle motion, soft sound, and warm light creates a tranquil scene that mirrors the natural slowing of the season. It feels as though the water itself is moving in a meditative rhythm. Morning frost becomes a delicate signature of late autumn, forming when cold dawn air chills surfaces just enough to crystallize moisture into tiny, intricate patterns. These crystals coat grass, leaves, branches, and stones with a shimmering silver-white layer that catches the weak morning light like scattered stars. Frost softens the world, quiet sound under a fragile blanket, and transforms ordinary landscapes into calm, glittering scenes. The temporary nature of frost melting as soon as sunlight touches it adds to its gentle beauty, reminding us that many of autumn's most peaceful moments exist only briefly, appearing softly and fading without resistance. Autumn brings longer shadows that stretch across fields and pathways like slow-moving brushstrokes of darkness. These shadows lengthen, not because the world is dimming, but because the sun travels lower across the sky, casting light at a shallow angle. The slower movement of these shadows gives the day a relaxed, unhurried feeling. Watching them glide across the ground feels almost like watching time move in slow motion, as if the world has decided to measure the day in softer increments. This natural lengthening teaches the mind to move more gently too, matching the pace of the shifting light. In forests, the thinning canopy lets more light reach the ground, revealing details that were hidden through all of summer. Moss glows with quiet richness. Tree roots become visible in winding shapes. Small stones catch the afternoon glow. Paths that felt enclosed and shadowed now open into warm, golden corridors. This increased visibility creates a sense of clarity and safety, making autumn forests feel more open and welcoming. The quiet charm of these brightened forest floors encourages slow, thoughtful steps, transforming even a simple walk into a calming, meditative experience. Autumn skies often feature thin, high clouds, cirrus, and altostratus that stretch across the atmosphere in gentle, feather-like patterns. These clouds scatter sunlight in soft, pastel layers of peach, gold, and lavender. Because the air is cooler and drier, these colors appear cleaner and more delicate than in humid summer skies. When the afternoon shifts into evening, these clouds catch the descending sun's final hues, creating sunsets that feel long, smooth, and peaceful. The slow changes in color create a visual lullaby, helping the mind drift into a softer emotional state. One of autumn's most calming qualities is the way sound travels through the cooler, denser air. Low-frequency sounds such as distant wind, rustling branches, or footsteps along a forest path move farther and feel fuller. But because the world is quieter overall, with fewer insects and less activity, these sounds feel soft rather than loud. The combination of cooler air, gentle wind, and natural quiet creates a soundscape that feels warm and familiar. These subtle autumn frequencies soothe the brain, lowering tension and encouraging deeper breaths. The softness of autumn at night is unlike any other season. The sky grows darker earlier, but the air remains gentle enough to invite slow walks under the dimming light. Street lamps glow through drifting leaves, casting warm patterns across the ground. Windows glimmer with soft indoor light that spills into the cool air. In forests, the quiet deepens as animals settle, and the world becomes a mosaic of warm hues fading into darkness. This early nightfall is not heavy or harsh. It is comforting, wrapping the world in a sense of peaceful completion, as if the day has finished its work and is ready to rest. As autumn deepens, the world begins to glow from the ground up, especially on days when sunlight filters through thinning canopies. Every fallen leaf becomes a tiny panel of warm color, reflecting soft, golden light back into the air. Forest floors that were dark and hidden during the dense summer months now shimmer gently with layers of yellow, copper, and muted red. This bottom-up glow wraps pathways in a warm, diffused radiance that feels almost like walking through a lantern-lit dream. The mind naturally slows in these spaces, responding to the combination of warm tones, soft shadows, and the calm crunch beneath each careful step, creating a peaceful rhythm between movement and quiet reflection. Autumn has a way of transforming lakes and ponds into perfectly still mirrors, especially during early mornings when the air is cool and the world has not yet begun to stir. The surface becomes so calm that it reflects the surrounding trees and sky with a clarity that feels more delicate and more dreamlike than any photograph could capture. The reflection of the trees, glowing with vivid, fading colors, stretches across the water in soft ripples that drift with the slightest breeze. This mirror effect creates a sense of doubled beauty, as if the world has softened enough to show two versions of itself at once, one above, one below, both existing in quiet harmony. Gazing at a still autumn lake has a settle-in effect on the mind, encouraging thoughts to soften and float, just like the reflections on the water. During autumn evenings, the world cools quickly and evenly, creating a kind of gentle temperature drop that feels soothing rather than harsh. The coolness doesn't bite it, wraps around the body like a soft, refreshing blanket. This cooling slows the heart rate, relaxes muscles, and prepares the body naturally for rest. Even animals respond to this shift, moving more slowly, gathering closer, and making fewer sudden sounds. Houses begin to glow from within as warm indoor lights flicker behind windows, creating a sense of coziness and quiet connection. These autumn evenings form a bridge between the bright energy of daytime and the deep calm of night, guiding the body and mind into a comfortable state of softness. The earliest frost patterns of late autumn form intricate crystal designs on leaves, windows, and blades of grass, each one shaped by the delicate interplay of cold air and lingering moisture. These crystals cluster into branching structures that resemble feathers, ferns, or tiny frozen rivers, and each one glistens faintly as morning light touches it. Frost transforms the world into a temporary artwork that disappears with the sun's warmth. And it reminds us of the fragile, fleeting beauty that autumn carries. These quiet, crystalline scenes evoke a sense of calm because they slow the eye, encouraging a kind of gentle inspection that feels like a meditation, pure attention, without urgency. As animals prepare for the colder months ahead, autumn forests become places of soft, purposeful activity. Squirrels move through fallen leaves gathering acorns, their small movements blending naturally into the quiet rustle of the forest floor. Birds migrate in slow, sweeping arcs across the sky, their formations drifting like moving brushstrokes against the pale autumn light. Larger animals like deer and foxes move more cautiously, their steps muffled by the thick blanket of leaves. This quiet preparation, carried out by so many creatures at once, creates an atmosphere of gentle transition, where nature shifts inward without haste or fear. Watching this seasonal behavior instills a deep sense of connection, a reminder that change can be approached calmly, without resistance. Autumn mornings carry a soft silver-blue light before the sun rises fully, a tone that feels tranquil and almost otherworldly. This pre-sunrise glow mixes with lingering mist or dew, turning forests and fields into scenes that appear painted with cool watercolor shades. During this early hour, the world seems to hold its breath, waiting for the warm, golden light that will soon follow. Sounds are muted, movements are slow, and even the air feels gentle and patient. This moment, when the world is suspended between night and day, creates an atmosphere of pure calm, encouraging the mind to settle into a peaceful rhythm long before the day begins. Autumn's shifting temperatures create gentle columns of warm and cool air that move across landscapes like invisible rivers. In forests, these subtle temperature changes cause soft drafts that circle through trees, lifting leaves into small, swirling patterns before letting them fall again. These miniature spirals of motion have a mesmerizing effect, inviting the mind to follow them naturally as they rise, twist, and drift downward. This interplay of warm and cool air also creates quiet pockets of stillness where sound becomes muted and the world feels temporarily insulated. Experiencing these gentle shifts reminds the body of the quiet intelligence of nature, how every season breathes in patterns that comfort and soothe. In many places, autumn brings a kind of golden haze in the late afternoon, created by tiny airborne particles illuminated by the low sun. This haze softens distant shapes, buildings, hillsides, tree lines blurring their edges just enough to make the horizon appear dreamlike. The warm light catches each particle in the air, creating a glow that feels like the world is wrapped in a gentle aura. This glow is calming because it reduces sharp visual contrast, allowing the eye to drift without strain. When the world appears softened in this way, the mind feels invited to drift too, releasing tension as colors blend and light shifts in calm, fluid motion. As leaves accumulate on the ground, they create a thick, textured carpet that transforms the feeling of walking. Each step sinks slightly into the soft layer, producing a muted crunch that blends with the natural acoustics of the season. This sound is soothing because it is repetitive, gentle, and naturally rhythmic, a soft pattern that syncs with the pace of relaxed breathing. Walking through fallen leaves becomes an immersive sensory experience, one where touch, sound, and sight combine to create a calming, meditative rhythm. This simple act connects you to the season in a physical, grounding way, reminding the body how to move slowly and consciously. One of autumn's most peaceful qualities is the sense of closure it brings. Not a harsh ending, but a gentle winding down. Plants slow their growth. Animals prepare for rest. The sun travels a calmer path across the sky. Even the wind feels more thoughtful, carrying with it the quiet whisper that the world is preparing to pause. This natural closing of the season mirrors the cycles of the human mind, offering comfort in its predictability and calmness. Autumn teaches, softly and without urgency, that transitions do not need to be overwhelming. They can be slow, warm, and filled with beauty. As autumn progresses, the world becomes quieter in a way that is not empty, but comforting, as though everything is intentionally softening its presence. In forests, the canopy grows thinner, and the open sky above becomes more visible through branches that once formed a dense roof. This additional space lets gentle breezes move more easily through the trees, creating a slow, sweeping sound that feels like a whisper stretching from one end of the forest to the other. The softened lull of wind, mixed with the rustle of drying leaves, creates a natural lullaby, a quiet, layered soundscape that encourages the mind to drift and settle effortlessly. It is a calm that feels intentional, as if the season is guiding everything toward a quieter rhythm. Autumn sunlight brings out the true depth of tree bark, rocks, and pathways, because the angle of light emphasizes textures that went unnoticed during summer. The low sun settles across surfaces from the side, filling crevices with long shadows and highlighting ridges with warm gold. Tree trunks reveal patterns that look almost like fingerprints. Stone steps show delicate lines shaped by time, and soil glows with warm tones that blend smoothly into the forest floor. This slow unveiling of texture naturally draws the eyes into closer, softer attention. Instead of overwhelming with brightness, the autumn light guides vision gently across surfaces, encouraging a kind of mindful observation where every detail feels familiar and grounding. Autumn's wind carries with it not only coolness, but also a sense of thoughtful movement. Unlike summer gusts that often arrive suddenly, autumn breezes travel in gentle currents, moving through the world with a slow persistence. They gather fallen leaves into small waves that ripple across pathways and fields, lifting them into soft spirals before letting them settle again. Watching this movement is calming because it mirrors the gentle rise and fall of breath, a slow inhale as leaves lift, a soft exhale as they drift down. The wind feels purposeful, yet patient, as though it is carrying the season forward with a steady hand, reminding the world that change does not need to be abrupt to be meaningful. As the season cools, shadows cast by trees and buildings grow longer and softer, creating gentle patterns that stretch across the ground like slow-moving brushstrokes. These shadows shift gradually throughout the day, making the landscape feel quietly alive without any sudden movement. The interplay between warm light and elongated shade creates a steady visual rhythm that encourages the mind to relax into the moment. This gradual shifting, subtle, gentle, and rhythmic, feels akin to the rocking motion that soothes the senses, reminding you of calm evenings and peaceful transitions. The world moves, but never abruptly, allowing thought to drift in harmony with the slow shifting of light. Autumn skies often carry a muted softness that feels like the world has taken one long breath out. Clouds stretch into thin, delicate layers that filter the sun into warm patches of diffused glow. These skies lack the intense brightness of summer or the sharp starkness of winter. Instead, they rest gently above the world, offering a quiet, open space that encourages mental stillness. The softness of the sky makes the world feel closer, more intimate, as though the atmosphere is gently leaning in to create a sense of comfort. Looking at an autumn sky often brings an unspoken ease, allowing thoughts to quiet and settle beneath its calm embrace. Fields and open meadows in autumn carry a kind of peaceful emptiness, not barren, but restful. The tall summer grasses have faded into warm, pale browns that sway in slow, unified waves when touched by the breeze. These meadows glow in soft sunlight, turning golden in the afternoon and shimmering faintly under the rising moon. The openness of these spaces allows the mind to stretch without boundaries, creating a sense of freedom and calm. There is no rush, no strong movement, only the steady, unified drifting of grasses that respond gently to every shift of the wind. This wide quietness invites deep breaths and encourages the thoughts to settle into stillness. Autumn streams take on a different character as the temperature cools. The water becomes clearer, calmer, and more reflective, mirroring the surrounding trees with soft precision. Fallen leaves float gently on the surface, moving without hurry as the water carries them forward in a slow, winding path. The sound of the stream becomes quieter, more like a soft murmur than a rushing flow, blending with the muted noises of the season. This softened water landscape creates a sense of flowing peace, reminding the mind that movement can be gentle and unforced, drifting naturally along its path without resistance or urgency. Forests in autumn release a warm, earthy scent that comes from a mixture of fallen leaves, moisture, and rich soil preparing for winter. This scent drifts through the air subtly, blending with the crispness of the season to create an aroma that feels both grounding and comforting. It is a scent deeply connected to memory for many people, which is why stepping into a forest during autumn can bring an immediate sense of familiarity and calm. The air carries this scent gently, allowing it to rise with each breath in a way that relaxes the senses and settles the body into a deeper, slower rhythm. Late autumn brings a unique kind of silence that feels thicker and more complete than any other time of year. Leaves that once rustled have already fallen, insects have gone quiet, and animals move with slower, more careful steps. This quiet is not empty. It is rich with stillness, filled with the soft breath of the earth preparing for winter's rest. In this deep quiet, the mind finds room to open and soften. Thoughts stretch out, becoming less crowded, less urgent. The body responds as well, letting go of tension, as if encouraged by the world's own steady calming. As autumn transitions toward its final weeks, the landscape becomes a mosaic of bare branches, softened sunlight, and gentle ground cover. The world feels stripped to its essentials, revealing shapes and contours that were hidden during the lushness of summer. There is something calming about this simplicity, a visual quietness that mirrors emotional quietness. With less visual clutter, the mind finds it easier to rest, to observe without being overwhelmed. This simplicity encourages reflection, stillness, and deep, unhurried breathing, creating a peaceful atmosphere that gently leads the body and mind toward rest. As autumn deepens, the forests begin to reveal patterns of light and shadow that feel almost painted. The kind of gentle contrasts that only appear when the canopy thins enough for sunlight to slip through in delicate beams. These beams descend between branches like soft, golden ribbons, illuminating drifting particles in the air and turning each quiet space into a cathedral of warm light. The forest seems to glow from within, each beam moving so slowly that you can almost imagine the world holding its breath while the light settles. This natural spotlighting calms the senses, inviting the eyes to linger on details that might otherwise go unnoticed: the curve of a branch, the texture of bark, the fluttering motion of a single falling leaf. Autumn pathways take on a new softness as layers of leaves pile gently across them, creating a natural cushion that absorbs footsteps and muffles sound. Each step becomes a muted whisper, blending seamlessly with the quiet rustle of the season. Walking through these pathways feels like moving through a world that has decided to speak quietly, encouraging you to match its softness. The gentle crunch beneath the feet becomes rhythmic and meditative, helping thoughts settle into the slow and steady pace of each stride. These quiet, leaf-covered trails create a feeling of being held by the season itself, wrapped in a warm comfort of earth, sound, and light. The way autumn rain falls has a unique calming rhythm. Unlike the heavy downpours of summer, autumn rain often begins with a soft tapping, a slow introduction that spreads gently across rooftops, branches, and windows. The cooler air shapes the sound into a muted, soothing pattern, more like a quiet percussion than a storm. The rain seems to move with patience, lingering in long, steady waves that coat leaves and stones in a glistening sheen. The combination of damp earth, softened sound, and dimmed light creates a comforting atmosphere where time feels slower and the outside world becomes safely distant, allowing the mind to drift inward. Autumn trees, even as they shed their leaves, maintain a kind of quiet dignity. Their branches, now more visible, stretch outward like delicate silhouettes drawn against the warm afternoon sky. Without the weight of summer foliage, their shapes become elegant and understated, revealing curves, knots, and patterns that carry years of quiet growth. These bare branches sway gently in the breeze, creating subtle, almost hypnotic waves that draw the eye. There is something deeply soothing in this openness, as though the trees themselves are resting after months of supporting vibrant life, teaching us that letting go can be both graceful and peaceful. The interplay between warmth and coolness becomes one of the most soothing characteristics of autumn. Sunlight still carries traces of summer's warmth, but the surrounding air is crisp and refreshing. This contrast creates a sensation that feels comforting and balanced, a gentle warmth wrapped inside a cool embrace. Standing in an autumn field or near a forest edge, you can feel this blend moving across your skin. A natural harmony that calms the nervous system and eases tension. This balance, unique to the season, brings a quiet clarity to the mind, making it easier to breathe deeply and settle into the moment. During twilight in autumn, the landscape transforms into a world of hushed colors. The golden tones of the day shift into soft violets, muted pinks, and delicate grays. Shadows widen, blending seamlessly with the fading light, and the horizon becomes a smooth gradient of warm to cool tones. In this twilight, the world feels gentler, as if the day is drifting into sleep along with you. The slow fading of color mirrors the slow quieting of thoughts, inviting a peaceful transition into rest. Twilight in autumn is one of nature's most effective lullabies, subtle, unhurried, and deeply soothing. Autumn air carries a distinctive weight, not heavy or oppressive, but gently full, as if it is holding moisture and scent in suspension. This fullness makes each breath feel substantial and calming, giving the lungs something cool and refreshing to wrap around. The sensation is grounding, the kind that brings awareness back into the body in a comforting, steady way. Breathing in this air feels like breathing in the essence of the season. Earthy, cool, and lightly sweet with the scent of fallen leaves. This quality of air helps the mind slow down, setting the body into a quiet rhythm that naturally supports rest and reflection. As fields prepare for winter, the tall grasses turn into soft waves of pale gold and light brown that ripple in the wind. These grasses bend easily, moving with a quiet, collective motion that resembles the slow breathing of a sleeping world. Watching these waves drift across hillsides can be almost hypnotic. A gentle ebb and flow that mirrors the steady rise and fall of the chest. The landscape feels alive, yet entirely peaceful, offering a visual rhythm that encourages the mind to release worry and settle into calm observation. Fields in autumn do not demand attention. They invite it softly. Autumn nights carry a cool clarity that makes even familiar places feel more serene. The air grows still, sounds fade into distant murmurs, and the stars shine more sharply through the crisp atmosphere. The moonlight becomes soft and silvery, illuminating rooftops, trees, and quiet streets with a gentle glow. This clarity creates a sense of openness and peace, a quiet confidence that the night is safe and welcoming. Even the darkness feels comforting, like a deep blanket settling over the world. These nights encourage slower breathing, calmer thoughts, and a sense of being gently held by the quiet. As the season nears its final weeks, the landscape settles into a calm that feels complete. The bursts of autumn color fade into softer browns and warm grays. Branches stand bare in quiet shapes, and the world becomes simplified. This simplicity has a soothing effect on the mind, removing the visual noise that can overwhelm thoughts. With fewer colors, fewer movements, and fewer distractions, the mind naturally shifts into a more meditative state. The late autumn world feels honest, calm, and unguarded. A gentle reminder that quiet phases are not empty, but restorative. As autumn arrives in open woodlands, the world begins to echo with a gentle hush that feels almost sacred. The ground, covered in layers of softened leaves, absorbs sound like a natural cushion, allowing even the faintest noises to blend slowly into the atmosphere. A single leaf drifting down makes a soft tap. A squirrel's tiny footsteps become barely audible, and the distant call of a bird stretches thinly across the cool air before dissolving into stillness. This quietness does not feel empty. It feels intentional, as though the forest has chosen to lower its voice so your thoughts can finally breathe. The mind, sensing this calm, mirrors it with slower thinking, softer emotions, and a deepening sense of peace that settles naturally without effort. Autumn light has a way of revealing colors that do not appear at any other time of year. The sun, sitting low in the sky, filters through the thinning branches at an angle that allows warm, amber light to spill over leaves, stones, and tree trunks in long, gentle strokes. This angled sunlight softens edges, fills shadows with gold, and turns simple landscapes into glowing tapestries of warm tones. Every tiny movement, a branch swaying, a leaf turning, a ripple of air brushing past seems more graceful under this light. It gives everything a slower rhythm, inviting the eyes to linger and the mind to drift into a state of unhurried observation where the world feels both familiar and comfortingly dreamlike. As mornings grow cooler, dew gathers more abundantly on fallen leaves, grass blades, and spiderwebs stretched across quiet corners of the forest. These beads of moisture catch the earliest light, creating tiny crystals that shimmer for just a few minutes before warming away. The world looks as though it has been brushed with delicate, glistening dust, a fragile beauty that exists only at dawn. Walking through this scene feels like entering a landscape suspended between night and day, a moment where the earth has not fully awakened. This gentle transition encourages the mind to soften, to slow, and to appreciate the fleeting beauty that appears and fades with effortless grace. Autumn branches, newly exposed as leaves fall, teach the eye to appreciate the quiet architecture of trees. Without thick foliage, the branching patterns become visible, revealing complex shapes that grew slowly over years. Some branches twist elegantly, others rise in calm arcs, and many stretch outward like open hands reaching toward the thinning sky. These patterns break the sky into gentle sections, each one filled with soft light or drifting clouds. Looking upward through these branches brings a deep sense of grounding, reminding the mind that beauty exists even in simplicity, that structure can be peaceful, and that the world does not need to be full or busy to be meaningful. The rustling of leaves in autumn takes on a distinct character that is different from any other season. In summer, leaves whisper lightly, thin, and flexible. In autumn, they rustle with a deeper, more textured sound. Each leaf carries subtle dryness that turns its movements into soft, crinkling notes that blend easily into the background. When wind passes through entire forests, thousands of leaves respond together, creating a warm, layered sound that feels like the earth speaking in a slow, soothing language. This sound has a calming effect on the nervous system, gently slowing heart rate and breathing, as though the body instinctively recognizes the rhythm as safe and familiar. Autumn rain creates a sensory environment that feels deeply nurturing. When raindrops fall onto layers of leaves, the sound becomes softer and rounder, more like a quiet pattering than a sharp tapping. Each drop is absorbed gently, creating a rich, muted soundscape that feels comforting rather than cold. The air fills with the earthy scent of damp soil and decaying leaves, a natural aroma that lowers stress and triggers a sense of grounding. Watching the rain through a window, or even imagining the slow, steady rhythm of droplets falling onto the forest floor, brings a feeling of safety, like being wrapped in a quiet blanket of sound and scent that shields you from the rest of the world. As the season cools, the atmosphere becomes clearer and cleaner, allowing distant landscapes to appear sharper and more detailed. Hillsides, ridges, and faraway tree lines seem closer, outlined gently against the soft autumn sky. This clarity extends to nighttime as well, when cooler air removes haze and reveals stars with stronger brightness. The world gains a sense of openness and depth, inviting the mind to stretch into that distance without anxiety. Looking at faraway objects under autumn light feels like gazing into a peaceful horizon where nothing rushes, nothing demands, and everything simply exists with quiet assurance. The gentle shortening of days in autumn carries a soothing rhythm that aligns naturally with the human body. As light fades earlier and earlier, the mind receives steady cues that it is time to rest. This gradual dimming acts like a natural transition from wakefulness to calm, guiding the body towards sleep in a slow, effortless way. The softer evenings, filled with warm hues, long shadows, and the cool rising of night, create an emotional shift that makes it easier to release the day's tension. The season itself encourages deeper rest, inviting you to follow its quiet cadence. The colors of autumn deepen as the weeks go by, shifting from bright golds and reds into softer browns, faded oranges, and muted rust tones. These colors have a calming psychological effect because they are warm without being intense, grounding without being heavy. They create an environment where the eyes can wander slowly without stimulation or strain. This muted palette surrounds the world in a comforting warmth, a quiet reassurance that the landscape is settling, preparing, and gently exhaling before winter arrives. As autumn nears its final stage, the world becomes a harmony of stillness and gentle motion. Bare branches sway lightly in the wind, leaves gather in quiet heaps, and distant hills glow under the last warm rays of the weakening sun. Every movement becomes more subtle, more measured, more peaceful. The landscape feels like it has settled into a long, slow breath, a calm inhale of cool air and a soft exhale of fading light. This deep quietness signals the closing of the season with grace, reminding the mind that endings can be gentle and filled with beauty. As autumn continues its slow descent into deeper stillness, the world begins to feel wrapped in a layer of gentle quiet that seems to settle not only across forests and fields, but also inside the human mind. The days, though shorter, carry a softness that stretches from morning into night with a kind of steady calm. Even the sunlight, which arrives later and leaves earlier, feels like it moves more slowly across the sky, touching each surface with a warm, unhurried glow. This gradual rhythm encourages the mind to loosen its grip, inviting a deeper sense of ease that blends seamlessly with the season's natural hush. Autumn doesn't ask for attention. It simply settles into the world in a way that makes everything, thoughts, movement, emotions, gentler by its presence. The color of the world in late autumn becomes a quiet tapestry of muted tones, each shade blending effortlessly into the next. Forests that once blazed with intense reds and bright yellows now soften into deep browns, warm golds, smoky oranges, and gentle grays. These colors hold none of the urgency of summer. Instead, they form a calm, earthy palette that soothes the eyes and steadies the mind. Looking across a late autumn landscape feels like gazing into a painting made of warm sighs and slow exhalations. There is no chaos in these colors, only the quiet softness of a season that has learned to rest. Open fields in autumn often carry a peaceful emptiness that feels both expansive and safe. With most plants having shed their summer fullness, the land stretches in smooth, gentle waves that roll softly beneath the sky. Grasses lean with the weight of frost or dew, moving only slightly when touched by the breeze. This openness allows the mind to breathe more deeply, expanding into the wide space without pressure or expectation. The horizon feels closer, yet quieter, as though the world has simplified its shape to better match the quiet rhythm of the season. Being in such a landscape gives the heart room to settle and the thought space to soften. The air in late autumn carries a calm clarity that feels almost like a reset. Each breath is cool but not harsh, refreshing without overwhelming. The crispness clears the senses in a gentle way, lifting mental fog and replacing it with calm awareness. This clarity also helps sense travel farther and more distinctly. The faint sweetness of dried leaves, the subtle musk of damp soil, the whisper of wood smoke drifting from distant chimneys. These fragrances blend into an aroma that is unmistakably autumn grounding, comforting, and rich with the quiet wisdom of the season. Breathing this air feels like breathing in the essence of calm itself. As the canopy thins further, more sky becomes visible through the branches, creating a beautiful interplay between earth and heavens. The bare limbs frame patches of open sky like delicate windows, each one revealing a different mood. Soft clouds drifting like feathers, pale sunlight glowing through thin mist, or deep twilight colors fading slowly into night. This visual openness creates a sense of quiet connectedness, as though the season is gently reminding you that you are part of a larger, calmer rhythm. Watching the sky through these branches becomes a small meditation in itself, helping thoughts drift and dissolve into the spaciousness above. One of the most soothing scenes of autumn appears when gentle winds lift small clusters of fallen leaves into slow circles, letting them swirl gracefully before settling again. These miniature whirlwinds never feel chaotic. Their motion is slow, rhythmic, and strangely hypnotic, as if the wind is performing a soft dance with the remnants of the season. The leaves rise, hover, and fall in patterns that mimic the ebb and flow of breath, a rising inhale, a drifting pause, a settling exhale. Watching this motion brings a sense of internal balance, calming the mind through a simple, effortless visual rhythm. In quiet places, the stillness of late autumn becomes almost velvety, as though sound itself has softened. Without the constant hum of insects and the full chorus of birds that fill summer air, the world becomes a place where even the smallest noises, a twig shifting, a bird's wing beating, a distant footstep, feel gentle and spaced apart. This widened soundscape gives the ears room to rest, removing the constant barrage of noise that often crowds the mind. Instead, autumn offers long stretches of peaceful silence, broken only by soft, natural sounds that blend into the quiet rather than interrupt it. Autumn skies at dusk carry a depth that feels almost emotional. As the sun lowers, the sky shifts from warm gold to rose-tinged orange to a gentle lavender that spreads evenly across the horizon. These colors blend with a softness that mirrors the mental calm that often arrives at the end of the day. The gradual fading of light becomes a visual lullaby, encouraging the mind to release whatever weight it still carries. This twilight transition reminds the heart that endings can be peaceful, that fading light can be beautiful, and that rest is a natural, comforting part of every cycle. The sound of animals in late autumn becomes more purposeful, yet softer, as many creatures prepare for the colder months ahead. Birds gather in small groups, their calls quieter and less frequent as they organize for migration or settle into winter routines. Small mammals scurry through leaves with careful movements, gathering what they need before the season settles fully into stillness. These sounds, gentle and deliberate, carry a reassuring calm, a reminder that nature approaches change with quiet preparation rather than urgency. Listening to these subdued movements encourages the mind to also approach life's transitions with softness and patience. Late autumn evenings bring a cool, steady darkness that settles over the world with remarkable calm. The early night doesn't feel abrupt. It feels like a natural exhale. Streetlights begin to glow softly, windows warm with quiet indoor light, and the sky deepens into shades of indigo and charcoal. This darkness has none of the sharpness of winter. Instead, it feels like a blanket draped gently over the landscape. It invites rest, reflection, and deep, unhurried breathing. The world moves slowly under this early night, and the mind follows, easing into a state of peaceful unwinding. As autumn nears its quietest moments, the world begins to glow from the inside out, not with bright colors anymore, but with a gentle warmth that seems to come from the land itself. Fields that once blazed with summer energy now hold a soft, golden hush, and forests that once rustled with constant life now move with slow, intentional stillness. There is a sense that the earth is preparing for rest, settling its breath and calming its heartbeat. This shift in the world's energy influences the human mind in subtle ways. Thoughts slow, emotions soften, and the desire for stillness becomes almost instinctive. Autumn's deep calm becomes a language the body understands without needing to think. The final leaves of the season fall differently from the first. Early autumn leaves dance in spirals, carried by lively breezes that weave through the branches. But late season leaves drift almost straight downward, moving with the heaviness of a cycle coming to an end. These last leaves fall with a kind of acceptance, releasing themselves gently, landing softly on the layers already waiting below. Their motion is slow, unhurried, and deeply peaceful. Watching a single leaf descend in the late autumn air feels like witnessing a reminder that letting go can be quiet, dignified, and even beautiful. As the landscape opens further, the horizon becomes clearer than at any other time of year. With many trees now bare, the eye can travel farther and more freely across fields, hills, and distant ridges. This openness creates a feeling of mental spaciousness, giving the mind the same room to breathe that the body feels when standing in a wide, open place. The simplicity of the view, muted tones, gentle slopes, soft edges, settles into the senses with calming ease. It becomes easier to think slowly, feel deeply, and drift gently into the kind of reflection that brings peace rather than worry. Late autumn rivers and streams carry a quiet steadiness that feels almost meditative. The flow becomes calmer as rainfall decreases, and the surface often mirrors the soft sky above with a clarity that feels unreal. The water reflects bare branches, pale clouds, and fading light, creating a world doubled in stillness, one above, one below. The gentle sound of the stream moving around stones becomes a natural lullaby, low and rhythmic, a sound that reassures the mind the same way a heartbeat reassures a child. Standing near such water, the world feels balanced and slow, as though the earth is exhaling in a long, continuous sigh. The forest floor transforms into a soft quilt of brown and gold, built from thousands of leaves resting together. This blanket muffles sound so completely that even footsteps seem to dissolve into the quiet. Walking across it feels like moving through a dream, each step cushioned and gentle. The softness underfoot brings a grounding sensation, connecting you to the earth in a comforting, stable way. The forest floor's warm, earthy scent rises as the leaves settle, blending with the cool air to form an aroma that calms the body almost instantly. Nature becomes a sanctuary, not just to the eyes, but to the senses as a whole. Autumn clouds become slow travelers, moving across the sky in broad, deliberate sheets rather than fast, scattered fragments. These clouds diffuse sunlight into pale gold or soft gray, creating a kind of natural dimmer switch that quiets the world beneath it. Their slow motion, visible even without staring, triggers the mind's instinct to follow not with intensity, but with a drifting awareness that loosens thought patterns and invites calm. Even when the sky is overcast, the texture of autumn clouds is gentle, with smooth transitions and soft lines that reduce mental stimulation and replace it with atmospheric comfort. The scent of wood smoke becomes more common in late autumn as people begin warming their homes. And this scent mixes beautifully with the crisp air and earthy forest aromas. Wood smoke carries a calming emotional weight, a reminder of warmth, safety, and the human instinct to gather together in gentler light. The air, when touched by this faint scent, feels like an invitation to slow down, to pause, to settle into stillness. It evokes ancient memories of hearths, fires, and the quiet comfort of shared warmth. Breathing it in wraps the senses in a cocoon of familiarity. The shapes of trees become more poetic as their branches stand bare against the sky. Without leaves, the intricacy of each branch becomes visible, the delicate curves, the layered intersections, the graceful stretching of limbs shaped by years of growth. These silhouettes look like natural drawings, etched softly into the evening horizon. Their stillness carries a quiet authority, a sense of wisdom earned through time. Observing these bare forms encourages introspection, a gentle turning inward that aligns beautifully with the season's slower rhythm. Their quiet presence reminds the mind that strength and stillness can coexist. Late autumn twilight brings a unique kind of serenity. As day fades, the horizon shifts into muted purples, smoky blues, and gentle grays that blend smoothly into each other. These colors appear softer than summer sunsets, lacking intensity, but full of emotional calm. The shift into dusk feels slower, more measured, as though the day is closing its eyes with you. The gradual dimming allows the mind to settle without abrupt transitions, guiding thoughts into quiet waters. This twilight feels like a soft boundary between the active world and the restful night, a moment when everything exhales together. Finally, the night air of late autumn carries a deep, restful stillness that is unlike any other time of year. The world grows silent, the wind slows, and the coolness wraps gently around landscapes that no longer move with summer's intensity. Stars feel sharper in the crisp air, yet their brightness is balanced by the calm darkness surrounding them. This night air calms the body naturally, slowing breath, lowering tension, and preparing the mind for sleep. In late autumn, the earth feels like it has paused, offering you a quiet place to rest within its steady, peaceful silence. As late autumn settles fully into the landscape, the world begins to feel like it has entered a quiet pause, a gentle space between seasons where everything slows into a peaceful equilibrium. The colors that once burned so brightly have mellowed into soft browns and muted golds, creating a palette that feels warm but calm. Forests no longer call for attention. Instead, they stand in serene stillness, offering a sense of grounding to anyone who walks among them. This quiet season invites the mind to rest, to drift, to release its grip on the day. The world no longer moves quickly. Every shift happens softly, as though nature itself is whispering the importance of slowing down. Autumn's final breezes carry a uniquely tender coolness, a temperature that feels gentle on the skin, neither sharp nor biting. These breezes move through the world as if they are smoothing the last traces of summer away. They brush across quiet ponds, stir the remaining leaves into soft patterns, and weave through empty fields with a kind of delicate patience. The sound they create is subtle, just the faint rustle of branches and the quiet movement of air settling into stillness. The softness of these breezes calms the senses, making each breath feel easier, deeper, and more aligned with the slow rhythm of the season. As the last clusters of leaves cling to their branches, their movements become more meaningful. Each one trembles slightly in the breeze, catching the short afternoon light in gentle flickers. They no longer swirl wildly or dance high into the air. Instead, they drift downward with a softness that feels almost ceremonial. These final leaves move as though acknowledging the end of their journey, settling slowly onto the warm tapestry already covering the ground. Their descent creates a peaceful sense of closure, a visual reminder that letting go can happen gracefully, quietly, and without resistance. The sky in late autumn often turns into soft expanses of pale gray or muted gold, with clouds stretching across the horizon in long, smooth layers. There is no rush in their movement, just a calm drifting that mirrors the slower pace of the world below. These skies diffuse the sunlight in a way that removes harshness, bathing the world in a gentle glow that makes everything feel softer to the eye. Without sharp shadows or intense brightness, the mind relaxes naturally, shifting into a deeper state of ease. the atmosphere becomes one continuous blanket of calm. In the fading light of late autumn afternoons, shadows grow long and poetic. They stretch across pathways, wrap gently around tree trunks, and weave between blades of grass with a fluidity that feels almost musical. These shadows move with the sun's slow descent, deepening and lengthening in a rhythm that mirrors the gradual unwinding of the day. The softness of these shadows quiets the environment, giving each detail a subtler presence. Watching them drift across the land feels like watching time move in slow motion, a gentle reminder that nothing needs to hurry. Ponds and small lakes in late autumn develop a glass-like stillness as wind slows and water cools. The surface becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting the quiet world above with delicate clarity. Bare branches, dim skies, and the muted hues of the landscape appear twice, once in reality and once in their soft reflection. This doubled calm has an almost hypnotic effect, inviting the mind to settle into the calm repetition of shape and color. The water seems to hold the world gently, capturing its quiet beauty in a serene, unmoving embrace. The sounds of late autumn nights carry a depth that feels comforting and safe. Without the hum of summer insects or the calls of migratory birds, the world becomes hushed, filled only with subtle whispers, the faint creak of a branch, the distant rustling of a small animal settling into its shelter, the occasional gentle breath of wind moving through empty fields. These sounds blend into a soft harmony that feels like the world is resting. The night becomes a place of warmth and stillness, where silence is not emptiness, but presence, a quiet reassurance that everything has settled into a peaceful rhythm. Paths and trails become softer in late autumn, covered with layers of leaves that cushion every step. Walking these paths feels like moving across a natural quilt stitched together by time and season. Each step sinks into the leaf-covered ground with a muted, comforting sound, a small reminder that even movement can be peaceful. The trail feels familiar and safe, guiding the traveler gently through the quiet landscape. These softened paths invite slow walking, slow breathing, and slow thinking, turning even a short stroll into a meditative journey. The last sunlight of autumn evenings carries a kind of emotional warmth, not bright or fiery, but tender and subdued. It lingers gently along the tops of hills, rests on rooftops, and glows softly across quiet meadows. This light does not insist on being noticed. It simply settles over the world, offering a final moment of warmth before night arrives. The mind responds to this light instinctively, letting go of tension and drifting into a calm acceptance of the day's end. This fading glow becomes a quiet signal that rest is near, smoothing out the edges of thought and guiding the body toward stillness. And as autumn reaches its final days, the season leaves behind a feeling of gentle completion. The world has shed what it needed to shed, quieted what it needed to quiet, and softened what it needed to soften. Standing in this on a late autumn calm feels like being held by the earth's own exhale, a warm, grounding presence that reassures the mind and body that rest is natural. Everything slows, everything settles, and the world prepares for winter with grace. In this quiet, the mind finds its own kind of peace, a soft, drifting calm that mirrors the stillness of the season. And now, as our quiet journey through autumn draws to its gentle close, allow yourself to linger for a moment in the softness this season carries. Autumn has a way of speaking in tones that are felt more than heard. A language woven from drifting leaves, muted light, and the slow exhale of the world preparing for rest. You've walked through its warm landscapes, listened to its calm winds, breathed in its earthy fragrance, and settled into the deep hush that moves across forests and fields as the season leans softly toward winter. Let all of that stillness remain with you for a moment, resting inside your mind like a warm ember glowing quietly in the dark. The beauty of autumn is not found in rush or intensity. It lives in the slow unraveling of color, in the graceful letting go of leaves, in the unhurried motion of clouds drifting across a softening sky. It teaches without instruction, showing that change can be tender, that endings can be peaceful, and that rest, deep, restorative rest, is a natural part of life's rhythm. As you settle now into your own quiet moment, let that wisdom settle with you. Let your breath mirror the calm wind. Let your thoughts drift like leaves, finding their way gently to the forest floor. Let your body sink into whatever holds it, warm and heavy and safe. You are wrapped now in the same stillness that settles over the world at the end of the season. The dimming light, the widening shadows, the soft quiet of the night, they all move together, creating a space where nothing demands your attention and nothing asks you to hurry. In this space, you can release whatever weight you've carried today. You can let your mind loosen its grip and drift toward rest the same way the season drifts toward winter. Slowly, softly, naturally. Thank you for joining the Sleepy Scientist tonight. If this gentle walk through the quiet beauty of autumn brought you ease, comfort, or even the beginnings of sleep, feel free to subscribe so you can return to this calm whenever you wish. There will always be another journey waiting for you, another soft exploration, another quiet corner of the world to rest in, another story carried on the slow, soothing breath of nature. Until then, may your thoughts be light, your dreams be warm, and your sleep as peaceful as an autumn evening settling softly over the earth.